Hi, I'm Doug here at Global West, and today we're working in the back. We happen to have a C5 Corvette that's going to be raced in a couple of weeks, and we're going to go ahead and prepare it. And one of the things we're doing right now is we're going to install our new KT C56F front bushing system. That bushing system is going to help us control that front end and have a much better alignment, which will help our turn-in, which is very important in a road race application. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll show you how easy it is to install. And we're also going to show you some things you need to look at when you're working on your Corvette and what to watch for. Let's get started. Okay, let's take a look at the stock system and what's on the Corvette, and let me show you these bushings and what's going on in a high performance application. All right, we're going to take a look at the lower control arm, and this here is the factory Excentric. Factory arm is installed, and this arm has been replaced recently because they had a problem with the original bushings, and this arm is fairly new, but we're going to show you what took place. This is an Excentric. Now in our kit we're going to eliminate this Excentric. The Excentric is what sets the alignment on a C5, C6 on the lower control arms. We're going to get away from that and do the alignment on the upper control arms. But when we talk about Excentric, we're looking at an offset cam, and you can see that right here. That's what we're getting rid of. Now, as for the bushings, you can see how the rubber bushings are forward here on the control arm, and then on the back we've got a slight air gap here. Now that's on the forward portion of the control arm, and on the rearward portion of the control arm, you can see the thick portion of rubber here, and then we got some rubber here and so on, but you've got quite a bit of gap. Now under load, cornering loads, there's a lot of movement in the lower control arm, and this rubber, whether it be on the back side here or on the front, has a lot of deflection to it. And let me show you that. See that movement right there? Well, that whole arm is shifting. And what that shift does, it affects your alignment to a certain degree, but the biggest thing is it affects your turn-in. And that means that the turn-in is not going to be crisp. When you put our product in there, that condition is eliminated, and your turn-in will be immediate. And that's something that you want in a racing or high performance application. And as for on the street, that is still something you want because you have much better control over your alignment. So let's go ahead and get into this and get these parts changed out, and we'll show you the rest of the procedure that we go through to make this work. All right, we've got the tire off, and as you can see now, the upper control arms, remember I said the lowers were recently replaced? And this is being raced. And what they did on the upper, this is, according to the owner of the vehicle, this is the second set of polyurethane. They're using a polyurethane bushing up here. They got rid of the rubber. And the reason why that is because these control arms literally slide off the rubber bushing. And they'll be resting on the metal cross shaft that's in here. So one kit that's out there is a urethane. And so they went ahead and put the urethane on. Now this is the second set. But you can see the air gap already developing here, front and back. And what happens is this polyurethane over time has a tendency to cold flow, which means it takes the shape of the load or it distorts. So does rubber. And what we want to do is we want to get rid of that situation so we have much better control. Now the other thing with our particular kit is we're going to change all of our alignment over to the upper control arm here, and none of the alignment is going to be done on the lower, which is allow us to be able to keep a square car up front, and it gives you a lot more latitude in reference to our alignment. The other thing it does is it eliminates any tendency for your alignment to shift, because those eccentrics that you've seen on the lower can shift. We don't want that to happen. We want to put shims in here, and we're going to show you how we do that for our alignment, and that's going to stay. So let's go ahead and pull this apart. All right, Jim's got the bushings already installed in the control arm. There's a couple videos about how to do that, and you've seen some quick clips of us doing that, but there are two videos. There's one on how to install the uppers and on how to install the lowers. But on the uppers, in our video, we had a round hole, and then we have the oval, and we talked about that. The round hole goes to the front of the vehicle. If this shaft was on this side, the arm would be this direction, and this would be on the driver's side. But we're working on the passenger side, so round hole always goes to the front. Now if you'll notice, we talked about this prior, is about the shaft. The shaft is offset. It's deliberately machined with an offset. We do that because with this offset, by turning this, we can create more negative camber for an autocross application or road racing app versus doing a street alignment where we'd rotate it the other direction. So if I put the control arm on like this with the shaft the way this is and the offset going outward, that is more for a street application. If I rotate it so the heavy offset here on the shaft goes towards the body of the car where this is outboard, that generates more negative camber, which is beneficial for the handling applications. We did this similar with other kits that we have, and those offset shafts that we offer for Camaros and Chevelles and what have you for fixing alignment. We're doing the same thing here, only we're doing it with the Corvettes. So it's already built into the system. When we're going to install this, because this is an autocross car, we're going to make sure that this offset, the heavy, goes next to the frame. And that's also where we're going to put our shims to help on our alignment. So let's go ahead and get this installed. So what Jim's doing right now is, you see those shims? Those shims come in the kit. And we give you an assortment. And for your initial setup, you're going to put a 1/16 shim in there and an 1/8 inch shim. And we'll do that on front and back. Now remember, you're going to do all your alignment from up here, so that shim pack's going to get adjusted. But for just getting it on the ground, seeing where we're at, that's what we're going to go ahead and install as a preliminary. Okay, so we've got the ball joint separated. You notice what the rubber does with the control arm, how it has resistance to it? It's like spring back. So like if you put a stock set of control arms on, you want to tighten up those eccentrics obviously at ride height. But what we wanted to show you is the resistance in the control arm upon movement. Okay, and you can see that. That will affect spring rate at a certain point. When we go to the del-a-lum bushing system, you're going to see that doesn't exist. And we have much better control. In the kit, you're going to get 4 bolts, 4 nuts for the lower control arm, and you're going to get 8. These are lockout plates. And you're going to see a couple of holes there. Now these are designed to go in and replace the eccentric that was originally in the cross member. And you'll see the hole positions, they're different. If I were to mount the lower control arm in this hole, it'll shove it out and create more negative camber. If I put it to this hole, it pulls it in and creates positive. And of course I can rotate it this direction and have neutral. Now, if I was doing a street alignment, I would be using this hole to start. Not an autocross. In autocross, we want to move the lower control arm out as far as possible, again because we want negative camber. Alright, so we've got this lined up here. We're going to slide this through. And when you're putting this in, you're going to match the back side as well. Get the front, and when you put the plate on the back, obviously install it the same way. Once we get in position, we're going to go ahead and run these down, and we're going to torque it. If you had the rubber bushings in there, you couldn't do that. So we got our control arm bushings in there. They are tight, but look at how easy this is to move. There's no binding that you would find in a rubber bushing. It's like a bearing, and that's the whole idea. And there's no fore and aft movement whatsoever. So this is locked in. Our next step is alignment. So as you can see, we're checking our alignment to see where we're at before we get started doing the alignment. Once we get our settings, we're going to go ahead and pull the tire off. We're going to remove the shims and change the shim pack. Now in the kit we give you in the instruction sheet, you're going to have a chart that shows what each shim does and where you can use it for camber or caster. So you are going to be changing your shim pack. That's why when we first did the initial installation, we didn't really care too much about where or what shim we were using, because we're going to be changing it anyway. Once you get that shim pack in, go ahead and tighten them down. And what you're going to do is go to the other side, and you're going to really do the same thing. Go off the chart, put it back together. Once this is done, tires back on, recheck with your gauges, and your alignment should be ready to go.